cleaned out and protected. You've got to take care of the floors, you know, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work out.
A few years later.
This in an environment that you're used to seeing. I live here. I come to the Palisades, and now I'm seeing buildings that I've driven by for years no longer exist. Right over there, one of the shishiest shopping malls in LA, and there've been little spot fires popping up around that. So far that has not gone up, but you can just...
I'm 77 years old, man. I can't walk up these hills. It's like Mount Everest here. It's like, you know, pretty steep. So, you know, it's just, I posted this on X, but Sarah was on with her 8-year-old niece last night. And she came out, I'm sorry, just, you know, one day you're swimming in the pool and the next day it's all gone. But she came out with her little Yeti piggy bank for us to rebuild our house.
Oh my gosh, James Woods, we all hope that you will be able to rebuild your house, maybe starting with that little Yeti piggy bank, and we're just glad that you're okay.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to go out to California. That is literally burning on fire due to massive wildfires raging through Los Angeles. But don't worry. Democrats got it under control because the mainstream liberal media told us that Democrats know how to govern. They know how to govern, right? You guys remember the talking point for the mainstream liberal media? How Republicans don't know how to govern, but Democrats do. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure that California, Los Angeles, it's a shining example of what the mainstream liberal media is talking about. Except we all know what the media says and what Democrats says is basically the opposite of reality. And that's essentially what's happening here. Because out in LA, like I told you guys, there are massive wildfires that are literally burning homes to the ground. But don't worry though. Again, Democrats are in charge, and not only are Democrats in charge, remember, Democrats, these are the same people that support diversity, equity, inclusion, okay, which is supposed to help stop these types of things, okay, because that's important. Having a diverse fire department is important, says the fire chief of Los Angeles.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me.
We are hosting our new employee orientation, and our focus is to teach our new employees for them to understand cultural competency, identify implicit and unconscious bias, and be aware of the importance of us having a diverse and inclusive workforce.
Diversity is important because the different people bring different lenses to their job, and those different ideas, those different lenses are important to have the best practices for our industry.
We have people.
Geez, I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, and I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. and I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago, and she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege.
Yeah. So it seems as if California's wildfire situation is in good hands, right? It's in good hands because you have a woke fire chief that is worried about diversity, equity, inclusion fighting these wildfires. Except that seems to not actually be the case because the residents of LA, the people there, are extremely concerned and frustrated by the fact that these wildfires continue to occur. And when they do occur, it seems as if there's absolutely nothing that can be done about it. Okay. And it doesn't help that you have Democrats, like, for example, the mayor of LA literally going missing, right? She's on a trip in Ghana, apparently for their president's inauguration. But again, don't worry. She cut the fire department budget about $17 million before she left, right? It's in good hands. The budget is cut, and you have a woke DEI fire chief, so it is in good hands, right? It's in good hands. Yeah, that's what's currently happening here. I don't know if the LA mayor is going to go to President Trump's inauguration, but for whatever reason, she feels the need to go all across the world to attend the inauguration of the president of Ghana, as if that has anything to do whatsoever with what's going on in her own city, as it literally burns to the ground, okay? And residents are lashing out at her, okay? They are upset, they're mad because she is nowhere to be found, okay? But hey, this is kind of what they voted for.
50 years, 49 for me, of being born and raised in the Palisades, hardworking family. Everyone who lives in the Palisades is there because they love the Palisades. And for someone to be in charge of my town, where were you?
You're certainly
Where were you when the decisions should have been made
questions
on how to get in and out of places? When the fire, I wish she were sitting across from me to answer these questions. She's not. And so I don't have an answer for you what my emotional toll is today, because I can tell you what the weather patterns are. Your meteorologist can tell you. If you live here and you run a city, figure it out. If you want to be the mayor of a city like Los Angeles, you're in charge of some really important things, and you just let it go.
On a screen right now, we're looking.
Yeah, that's Democrat governance, guys. That's Democrat governance, and it only gets worse. It only gets worse. But let's read some of the backlash here. Razan, why are you in Ghana? One person commented on X. Hey, Karen, how's Ghana? Another person asked. LA, you asked. Yeah, it's burning to the effing ground, but it's better you're not here anyways because you're useless. You're a disgrace and an embarrassment to our country. You need to resign, you incompetent fool. Right? Again, it's amazing how they realize that Democrats are incompetent when it comes to actually governing, right? But, Trump was talking about this for years, right? He was warning Gavin Newsom about this stuff. This is what he said back in 2019. The governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has done a terrible job of forest management. I told him from the first day we met that he must clean his forest floors regardless of what his bosses, the environmentalists, demand of him. Must also do burns and cut fire stoppers. Every year as the fires rage and California burns, it is the same thing. And then he comes to the federal government for money, help, no more. Get your act together, governor. You don't see close to the level of burn in other states, but our teams are working well together in putting these massive and mini fires out. Great firefighters also open up the ridiculously closed water lanes coming down from the north. Don't pour it out into the Pacific Ocean. Should be done immediately. California desperately needs water, and you can have it now. Yeah, so Trump has been warning about this for the longest time. For the longest time, Trump has been warning about the mismanagement of wildfires due to the incompetence of the Democrat Party. Okay? But nobody listens, right? Nobody listens. And these people just continue to vote for the same incompetence over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Now I want to play this clip of Rick Caruso, who ran for mayor of Los Angeles against Karen Bass. Karen Bass, a far left progressive woman. Rick Caruso, a moderate Democrat, okay, a more sane Democrat, if that even exists. He's going to talk about the mismanagement here, and the things that he's going to say, again, it really, really, really speaks to the incompetence of the Democrat Party and the fact that they just let this city run out of water.
The Palisades Villages, which is owned by Rick Caruso, Rick Caruso joins us now live on the phone. Rick, thanks so much for being with us. What are you seeing in terms of your property tonight?
Well, hi, Alex. Thanks for covering this so well. Listen, it's a disaster to the 100th degree. It's beyond anything I think any of us could have ever imagined. But my heart goes out, obviously, to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city. It's not the firefighters' fault, but it's by the city. And I'm going to be very honest. We've got a mayor that's out of the country, and we've got a city that's burning, and there's no resources to put out fires. So if you look at your pictures, you don't see the firefighters there because there's nothing they can do. And it looks like we're in a third world country here. Mm-hmm. And we've got a lot of tough questions that we need to ask the mayor and the city council and our representatives and the county representatives. Why didn't you work to mitigate this? What was your brush mitigation program? I heard you earlier talking about it's been dry because there hasn't been rain. That's not the biggest problem here. The brush up in these hills that are controlled by the city and the county, I would bet you that if they haven't been handled, mitigated, pruned, removed for probably 30 or 40 years. This was a disaster waiting to happen. And what's predictable is preventable. And who's paying the price are all of these people in their homes and their businesses tonight. Now, we'll rebuild, but the majority of this community is going to have a tough time rebuilding their lives. And again, if you don't have water, you can't put out fires. And I'm going to spend a lot of time in the coming days and weeks and months asking some really tough questions, and I hope all of you in the press do the same and start holding our officials accountable to run this city in a way that keeps people safe.
You are listening to Rick Caruso, of course, businessman and developer, and this is a live look from near his property in the Palisades Village. Your property at this point has been saved, and I certainly understand that your heart is first and foremost with the small businesses and the homeowners who have lost their homes. Have you been actively in touch with LAFD? Have you been out there? I don't suspect you have, given that it's such a dangerous area, but bottom line question is, have you talked to LAFD about the firefight and potential protection to your property?
We've been in communications with them on an ongoing basis all day long, and our senior team has been in touch with LA Fire. I think LA Fire is going above and beyond trying to manage this fire. I have nothing but praise to say for the fire department of LA and the county, but their hands have been tied, and they can't fight a fire without water and the resources that are needed. Everybody knew these winds were coming. The other question has to be, were all the things in place to try to, again, mitigate the damage here? But the real issue to me is twofold. We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spread so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
That was going to be my next question, is why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. That's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her and get an answer from her?
Well, they say she's on her way back, and that would be a great question to ask her tomorrow if she's at this briefing at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I think there's a lot of people that are outraged by that fact tonight when they look at scenes like this, at businesses that people have worked really, really, really hard to build, and homes that people's entire livelihoods are going up in flames tonight. So for you, watching this and seeing those flames this close to your property, is it describe how?
Yeah. So you seen that, you heard that. No water in the fire hydrants, guys. Didn't fill up the reservoir in time. Didn't do what they had to do to prevent the fires from happening in the first place, even though they knew that there would be conditions that would cause these types of fires. They didn't do anything to prevent it. The mayor is overseas in Ghana. Missing in action. This is Democrat governance, guys. This is what the liberal media claims is so great, right? Even though, over the past 4 years, what have we seen? At the national level, at the federal level, Democrats running the country. Disaster. Absolute disaster. The economy, open borders, foreign policy, disaster. At the state level, what are we saying? Disaster. I think it's time for us to admit the truth. Democrats don't know how to govern. They don't. Let's admit to the truth, right? They want to talk about governance and how to govern. Somebody please explain to me, how is this good governance, right? Please explain to me how it's good governance. Because the only thing I hear from the mainstream liberal media is that Republicans don't know how to govern. They can't govern, right? But every time I look, it seems as if the Democrats who have been in charge of the country for the last 4 years, they're the ones that really don't know how to govern. You have a mass exodus happening in liberal states. They're leaving these liberal states, these states that are governed by Democrats. And where are they going? They're going to states governed by Republicans. Why is that? Well, maybe, just maybe, because states like Texas, Florida, etc. are governed better under Republicans than blue states are governed under Democrats, right? Strange concept. But if you listen to the mainstream liberal media, you would think the exact opposite. So, hey, it is what it is. I feel bad for the families, the businesses, the children. People are losing their livelihoods due to the incompetence of the Democrat Party. And at some point, these far left, super blue areas, they have to realize that who they're voting for is a part of it. It's a part of the reason why things like this are happening. But until they realize it and they decide to hold Democrats accountable, to put actual competent people in office, stop voting based off diversity, equity, and inclusion, hey, these type of disasters, unfortunately, they're not going to be prevented. They're not going to be prevented. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.